Okay, it's live.
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Lizette, and I'm gonna be the affirmative for the United States. If the United States should recognize felon voting rights.
And I'm arguing for the negative side of this case.
So the United States should recognize all Americans that were born in the United States, including the felonies. To be able to recognize everybody's votes and allowing the felonies to have voting rights, even if they have done a crime, because they shouldn't be having any punishment for the crime they did in the past for the rest of their life. Giving the felonies a chance to vote for the country they were born in. Everyone makes mistakes in the world, and we should allow them to make their lives better by putting input into an election, just like all of us do. We need their voice to be heard and be recognized as their votes, just like any other fellow American. The United States don't recognize the felons' voting rights and do not vote for who runs for the country they belong to because of all the rules they have going on. It's an unconditional for the U.S. to keep such a right from their people. Like the 14th Amendment states, nor shall any state, any person of life, liberty, and property without due process of law, nor denied to any person within its equal protection of the laws. An article called Should Felonies Be Allowed to Vote or Not by Robert Gomez states that over 6.5 million Americans were disfranchised on felony conviction grounds during the 2016 election against 3.34 million records in 2006. As felonies increase, it is needful to critically examine and, where necessary, Americans' approach to criminal voting rights. Many supporters of the protection of felonies voting rights have argued that losing a human right like voting, majorities are less likely to get jailed and their jail time, which is not fair. For instance, Black American males are 5 times more uh, susceptible, to being in prison than whites. Common logic says in this case, it increases people automatically destroys their ability to present their political interests and express their opinion through the ballot. This is in turn leads to a particular representation of public interest. Owing to this fact, of felonies would effectually make the U.S. Voting Rights Act, which seeks to promote even ballot representation across all interests, which is important. Voting restrictions. Many former prisoners start a new life after their time in prison. Many having to realize their mistakes to take advantage of any available opportunity to reconnect with society and live as everyone does. Truth is, these people may well become our neighbors tomorrow. Considering this, you most likely hope your next door felony is properly um, ready to rejoin the society they had before they even made that crime. Um, for instance, many there's a theory that society pressure helps develop certain behaviors where the behaviors seem untenable by the individual, um, which makes crime increase. Stemming from this, felons seeks to isolate former convicts from social norms, further creating room for them to return their criminal past. Why criminals deserve to vote anyway and be recognized with their voice? I understand that not all people with criminal records could vote. It seems almost very unreal that people that live in the U.S., even if they're criminals, they can't really vote or be recognized like a lot of other people that do get that. To allow someone who has proven themselves to make bad decisions in their own lives to make decisions about how our government is running, which affects the lives of others. But let's analyze for a moment that voting actually is for most political races. There are typically only 2 serious candidates on the ballot, sometimes 1 or two more who have a real chance of winning. Each of those candidates have been selected by the process, such as primary elections or signature collection. What harm would a criminal actually choose by one candidate over another that than any other citizen who cast the same vote that has not also inflicted. To say a felon should have no right to vote is to suggest that the felon's opinion of who should run is in itself a criminal idea. It then stands to reason that anyone who casts the same vote as a felon must by definition is also a criminal. See how this reasoning actually is. Maybe we should consider that any human being who takes steps to participate in the democratic process likely to wishes to participate in that process for the same reason as anyone else, because they wish to preserve and advance their own welfare as well as their community as a whole. Maybe we should consider that a felon who has served the time according to the law have the best chance of the community which has been returned um, returned offers in the same rights as everyone else. Blocking felony voting rights is 100% a political move. For example, in Florida, Amendment 4 was overwhelmingly passed in 2018, allowing for felons to vote as long as they had completed all terms in their sentence. Republican Governor Ron, recognizing the political Amendment 4 represented for himself and his colleagues, immediately signed a bill that defined all terms as meaning all fines, fees, and relating to a case must be paid before the felon could exercise their voting rights. This despite the state admitting they don't even have a method by which to track the fines, therefore cannot provide data to what any given felon might own. Experts say that this would block 87% of the felon population from voting. Federal judge ruled the measure unconditional, but that appears process drags on to even through today.
Okay. Although I hear your side of this argument, I would like to start off with some questions regarding your points that you made. You mentioned that felons after prison want to start a new life, this being the reason you believe voting rights should be given to them. What about those who continue to break laws when they are released from jail? Do we really think that they should be voting? And do we want these people who abuse their power to vote voting as a joke in any way? Voting is a right that we have as Americans, which a lot of countries do not have, to voice their opinions, and there are certain reasons that certain people are not allowed to vote here. You also mentioned that felons mostly vote Democratic. Where is this information coming from? And it would be interesting to hear the numbers on this exact statement and where you got it from. Maybe something can be done to find a way to give those with less crimes legal right to vote. I agree, but they must prove that they are capable of making decisions that could possibly change and affect this country in many ways. These people commit crimes harming other people, so I'm confused as to why they get to make a decision on laws knowing that they have harmed other people. Responsibility is something everybody has to take up. When you commit a crime, you pay your time. So a quote from Roger Clegg, pulled from procon.org. We don't let children vote, for instance, or non-citizens or the mentally incompetent. Why? Because we do not trust their judgment. So the question is, do criminals belong in that category? And I think the answer is clearly yes. People who commit serious crimes should know that they are not trustworthy. Roger Clegg bringing this up is a great point. We have restrictions on who we do and who we do not let vote in this country. You must be 18, you must be a legal citizen, and you must meet your state's residency requirements. There are rules for everybody, not just felons, when it comes to voting. They must prove that they are capable of voting in this country. Voting is a serious thing, and there's a reason people are restricted from voting. If we're going to let felons have their legal voting rights back, we need to have restrictions and make sure that they are capable of making such a decision when it comes to our laws. If they cannot respect the laws already made that we have now, should they really be allowed to have a say in our new laws? Here are some numbers in a quote. An estimated 68% of released prisoners were arrested within 3 years, 79% within 6 years, and 83% within 9 years. These numbers are taken in 2018 and are from the Office of Justice Programs. We need to keep in mind how felons go back to jail after being released and how many of these numbers are going back to jail, if you just look at the numbers, you can see felons usually do not have just one or two crimes on their names, but multiple crimes. How are we supposed to trust people who continue to break our laws in order to make a decision on a law we want to pass? People who commit crimes do not have our trust and have shown us they are not trustworthy. Like I said before, consequences come with everything these days. If you break a law, you deserve to serve the punishment. The right to vote can be restored to felons, but if it should be done carefully, on a case-by-case basis after a person has shown that he or she has really turned over their old decisions, not automatically on a day somebody walks out of prison. The unfortunate truth is that most people who walk out of prison will be walking back in. I'm taking this quote from Roger Clegg again, the same person as before. He highlights the issue that those who go to prison are most likely to go back within the next 10 years, which I bring up in the statistics I brought up before. It's sad, but it shows. And punishments come to you when you break a law. So those who break the laws should not be surprised or hurt when they know their punishments, when they know that their rights are going to be taken away, because they tend to abuse the power that they have and break laws. You know what the punishments are, and you know what's going to happen before you commit a crime. You cannot expect to trust people when you do not give them a reason to do so. You shouldn't expect to have your rights when you don't give people a reason to be trustworthy of you.
So I hear your explanations and what you have to say, and you do have good points, but you were saying that we shouldn't trust we shouldn't trust the felonies because of their past, right? So why do you think that why do you think that why do you think we can't trust them ever again? So let's say when someone makes a mistake, like everyone makes mistakes, everyone has a past, we learn with our mistakes. That's just how life is. What if when they were in jail, they already, they learned their mistake and they are like, damn, like I really like messed up. I'm gonna get out of here and be a better person and grow. So I feel like for them, they need to get another chance into our society. So they should actually put a vote into a country they live in. Just because they're felonies, really shouldn't. As long they should be able to vote for the country they live in, just because they do live here in the country. And maybe they do change. We won't know until we give them a chance. It's a risk giving them a chance to vote, but as long as they finish all the requirements that the law was asking them to do, I believe that they should be given another chance. So, like, why do you think felonies shouldn't recognize when it comes to voting rights? Because I know they did a crazy crime, but everyone makes mistakes. And what if being in jail made them a better person? So why do you think they shouldn't be allowed to speak on a vote for a country they live in? They deserve a voice like everyone else. Just because they did a crime, it shouldn't be a problem. We should trust them. We should take that risk and give them a chance to vote. So I see the negative side argument. I do when you mentioned that if we are going to let felonies back to voting, we should have requirements, which we are doing, and the law is doing. Felonies have to do what felonies have to do when it comes to voting. Is they need to pay off everything they owe, their food in jail, their cases, everything they need to do. They need to pay their cases and the things they owe to the jail because of what they caused of them going to jail in the first place. Because they keep in mind that many former prisoners, after their experience in jail, start a new life and they realize the mistakes they made and try to reconnect with the world again in society. I understand where you're coming from, and I hope you understand where I'm coming from. But I feel like we just need to give them another try and a chance to vote, and we need to recognize their votes because they're people just like us. We all made mistakes, but we don't make mistakes as extreme as they do. But they learned. I feel like they learned, and they're gonna be better at they're gonna be better people when they come outside of the world, because I've known people that have done that and they've been better, and I think for them to reconnect with our society is very important for them and for all of us in the world. And yeah.
Okay, prisons are made in order to punish those who have broken laws in this country. Like I previously argued, those who go to prison once will most likely return back within the next 10 years. This seems to be a cycle for felons. If you look at those who are in prison multiple times throughout their lives, you will realize that this cycle occurs because there's nothing much more to their life. Sadly, they are used to being in and out of jail, and they do not know much more to life. They usually do not have families or any contact with families. They have so many criminal records under their names that it's almost impossible for them to ever get a job or ever go back to school. They know that their rights are taken away from them and simply just stay in the cycle of going in and out of jail because they do not get out of a cycle they are used to and simply don't know any different from this going in and out of jail. Unfortunately, we see this in many people, but cannot help people who do not want to get out of the system. Most people in jail do not care about having voting rights because they know their consequences of breaking these laws and know exactly what they're doing. These people have proven that they seem to be untrustworthy, and frankly, I don't understand why they should have a say in our laws that affect people when they continue to break them. Prison is meant to be a punishment. A custodial sentence has always been resulted in loss of freedom, loss of democratic rights, and for the duration of a prisoner sentence, why change that? The main point of a prison sentence is to show the offender and society as a whole that criminal behavior results in loss of freedom and most of the rights that freedom offers. This quote is taken from Jonathan Atkin, I believe is how you say his last name, on procon.org. He tends to question why we're getting confused on what prison is for. We have jails as a form of punishment for those who committed crimes. There's a loss of freedom and a loss of rights when you commit the crime, and this is very much known. You do not get to keep your rights when you commit a crime. Where is punishment shown in this? The whole point of the prison system is to punish the people who commit the crimes. So what is giving them a right going to do, and is this just going to lead into other rights that they want, and thinking that because they get one right they can get more rights, but that defeats the whole purpose of the jail systems, and it's a punishment. It's not any way to get your rights not taken.
Noting the disadvantages felonies face as a result of their lack of recognition is cruel. They are under federal, yet they do not hold the right to vote in federal elections, the opportunity to contribute to the United States. That's why the 14th Amendment is important, because it's equal protection of the laws. The frustrations of the felonies must be embraced. The 14th Amendment promises equal right protections, protection of the laws. Felonies deserve the right to have their voices heard in the elections, and the right to pick a candidate for the country or state they live in, not only when it's convenient for the United States. They deserve to vote, and we should give them another chance. We should trust them, because I know they did have a crime in the past. We should just trust them and give them another chance. And I do see both points of the arguments, but I really do believe that giving a person a chance is good for our country, because we get another vote, and not only that, we get another voice heard.